Hello there, lovelies. It is Dragyn here with another reading video this week because there's been a lot of things going on social media, and I'm not going to go into it too much. Maybe I'll do a vlog on it next week when I've got more time to think about everything that's kind of going on in the world right now. We've got COVID-19, we've got political things going on in the world, especially in America. Things are very politically charged when it comes to election coming up in November for all of you in America. Then there's the Black Lives movement, which is very, very important and dear to me because I think everyone deserves to be treated fairly, and I know black people haven't been, and it's really awful. So we've got that going on. And then recently this week with Twitter and social media, people are talking about their stories of being abused and harassed and from YouTubers and streamers. So I decided to take just a bit of a more break from gaming because right now the gaming community is hurting quite a bit, and I don't want to put myself out there right now with all of what's going on. So with all that being said, let's dive into another article from GeorgeTakai.com. This one I think is very topical right now. It's these stories are kind of nice, and some of them are like, oh really? So I'm reading an article where it's interracial couples are shocked about each other's culture. So interracial couples, and they're just gonna be like, whoa, I didn't realize that their culture was like this, these kinds of moments. So I'm gonna get comfy. You guys should get comfy as well. And let's go through and read some of these and have a nice relaxing time. So the first story is called Rice Away. So I can kind of tell where this is going, and oof. So this is not my relationship, but my sister is French and is dating a Chinese guy. He buys so much rice, she told me she could hold a siege for a whole year with it. And she keeps texting me stuff like, can you believe it? With pics of kilos and kilos of rice he just bought. Oh yeah, so rice is a huge staple in China, so I'm not too surprised by that. But I think if you don't know much about the country or anything of the culture, then it's like, why all this rice? That's a little much. Which is fair. Food tears. What? That's an interesting name for a story. Food tears. I'd never seen someone cry tears of joy eating good pasta until I met my Italian girlfriend. Oh, that is so cute. Just crying over how good something is. That's amazing. I love that. Especially if you're going traveling around to other countries, right? And you're expecting the food to taste like what you are used to at home, but then it's far better than you expected. It's fantastic. A really good experience. I had that experience with English breakfast, a typical English breakfast in London, and as well as shepherd's pie and those kinds of things, because we don't really do a great job of those kinds of things in Canada, so I get it. I get the whole crying over good food. This story is person who is old. Okay. So calling everyone an uncle or auntie when you mean person who is older. The number of actual relatives is much smaller than the number of family members. Edit. I love that apparently this happens everywhere except for white middle America. I first got it from my Chinese in-laws. I'm Southern US, and all my parents' close friends growing up were uncle this or aunt that. Everything else is reversed for just adults in general. Yeah. I know I've got friends from the Philippines, and their families are from the Philippines, and they always say oh, we're gonna go spend some time with some relatives of mine, some aunts and uncles of mine, and then they'll quickly go, they're not real, really my aunties and uncles, blood related, but we're so close to them that they're they're family. So I understand that kind of idea of auntie, uncle. I've had those kinds of people in my life as well. I still have an ex-aunt, which sounds really weird, but basically my uncle and her divorced, and she was not the one born in the family, so she got kicked out. But I still see her as an aunt, so we all have that kind of feeling with certain people that we know. Next story is called Wobbly. So W-A-B-B-L-Y, wobbly. So Jello, so many kinds of Jello. Every person in the surrounding South Dakota farming community brings a different kind of Jello to social gatherings. Really? That is so weird. Like, just Jello to family, to like gatherings. That's something you wouldn't expect. Like, if you're doing a potluck, you expect someone to bring like salads and like potatoes and veggies and meats and things like that you quickly like eat in like platters. But Jello, that's quite different. You go, South Dakota. Next story. Because we hug. ... Okay, I don't really like the ellipses there. That's a little nerve-wracking, but here we go. My boyfriend is half Japanese and has a very unemotional relationship with his mother, and his father too was a huge shock to me. My parents are European immigrants from the Balkans, and they're incredibly affectionate. My brother and I are affectionate with each other and will hug anytime. I hug my parents nearly every day, before the pandemic, of course. I grew up holding hands with my cousins in public, but my boyfriend absolutely hates PDA, so public display of affection of any kind. We've gotten into numerous arguments about physical affection in public or even at parties around our own friends. Naturally, he thinks my relationship with my family is very weird because we hug. Aww. But, like, it's true. Like, you know, there are families out there that just, they're okay with just trying to, like, you know, live with each other. They don't need to have like these moments of like I love you and all that kind of thing. They explicitly and implicitly just know it. We live together, we love each other. That's very clear. But there are people that are like, no, I like getting hugs and I love hugs. Like my little brother, he absolutely loves giving hugs. He'll come up to you and be like, hug, and I'm like, okay. So there's just different kinds of there's different ways to show affection. And his is just not physical, and that's okay. Here we go. Next story is called "Don't Listen." When I was dating a Mexican, I'd go to his family parties, and they would play the most foul-mouthed gangster rap. Screw the police blasting at a 5-year-old's birthday party. Abuelas and abuelos up and dancing to it. I made a comment about how liberal his parents and grandparents must be. He said, oh, they don't know English. This absolutely wouldn't fly if they knew what it was about. Oh my god. Okay, so that's hilarious because I feel the same way about certain songs too. Like, I listen to it for like the beat and the music, but as soon as I catch like a glimpse of lyrics or a glimpse of something that they say that I don't agree with or I don't like, I'm like, cringe, and I will switch the song. But if I don't listen to the lyrics, then I'm like, this is pretty boppin'. I'm not gonna lie. But that's hilarious. Oh, they don't know English. This absolutely wouldn't fly if they knew what it was about. That is great. I love that. Next story. Hands-free is what this is called. This story. Ew, being so touchy. I'm Asian and she's Hispanic. Enough said. Also, what surprised us was the foods. There are so many things present in our opposite cultures but used in a lot of opposite ways. Like certain ingredients used savory in one culture and sweet in the other and so on. But a lot of ingredients in common. Yeah. That is quite true, because I know some people will use cilantro and things like that to kind of like tone down spices. But then in other cultures, cilantro could be used to like spice things up depending on what you mix it with and what you use it for. That's very, very true. So cuisines are funny that way. You're like, oh my god, we have that back in Canada, but yours is like way more spicier, or yours is like way more bland. And people will have those kinds of conversations all the time. Like Indian food, I'm pretty sure if you go to India and you try like a curry and things like that, it'll be like really, really like way different than what we would expect based on what we think Indian food would taste like. So it's quite different, and it's interesting too. It could be all the same ingredients, but then there's that one thing that makes it go, oh wow, you cook it that way to make it that way. Whew, okay. Dang. Alright. Next story. Banana. So I'm Black British with a Jamaican family married to a white British guy. was most shocked by funerals. When we had his Nana's funeral, I was shocked that people were invited and only immediate family. We did the funeral, then went to a pub, and there were sandwiches, cake, tea, etc. Then everyone was heading home by like 5:30 p.m. Jamaican and Caribbean funerals are nothing of the sort. People turn up because they knew the deceased person years ago. Some people don't even make plans to go to the funeral, they arrange to go to the after. There's hot food served like a properly catered function in a hall or center. There's sound system set up and people dance. Also, sometimes a couple old men in hats playing dominoes. There's also usually a nine nights, so 9 nights after the person passes away, you hold a big party essentially to chase away bad spirits. Lots of music, drinking, food, smoking, etc. I told my husband about this and his face was a picture. He was shocked. So this is actually interesting. So I helped a friend of mine recently with a project explaining funeral rites in different countries because I've been very closely connected to America. I've lived in the UK and then I live in Canada. So it's interesting because like with the British land, it is very true. It's only immediate family, people that really like live with the guy like the longest, go to like funerals or get time off for like grief, right? Like bereavements. But in Canada, it's a little bit more like the Jamaican and Caribbean funerals, where like if you know the guy and the obituary, you see it, and you're basically already immediately invited to the funeral. You basically have an obituary. I mean, it's usually a huge fair where you go to like a church or something like that, and there's like a service for the deceased, and then they go bury the body in like grave or whatever they've done with it, cremation, however the person chose to be handled after they die. And then there's like usually a service afterwards where you meet together, you have everybody all together, you share memories and like the things that you remember from the person. Like, oh, I remember in like grade school, he used to be this nerdy kid, like you would do these kinds of things. And the party would last a few hours. There would be typically like coffee, alcohol, tea, things like that for every kind of person. Food would be around. It wouldn't be like a huge like catering thing, maybe like the Jamaican and Caribbean culture, but there would be like, you know, like basically food you would eat with your fingers, like your finger food. And then you basically would all say goodnight, make sure the people that are immediately close to the person are okay before you leave, and then you go on. We don't have a party, we don't do the 9-9 thing, but it's true. So that is always something that's interesting to me about cultures, like funeral rites. And Mexico is also different too. Like they have Day of the Dead, where they do this big like party and fiesta and altar and like these different things and different things in regards to like passing the spirit on. And it's very interesting to me. Very, very interesting. Next story is counting coins, so money management. I was quite surprised that when we got married, we were supposed to give away half of the cash we received as gifts to my significant other's cousins. What? I was then instructed that it was rude to have a savings account. If we had extra money, it should always be given to the family as gifts. Not happening. Wow. So if you've got extra money, it needs to go to people who need it more, like in your immediate family. That's quite interesting. And again, in North America, we're always like, we need to have a savings account. We need to save money in case things happen. We always think about emergencies like a house fire or like a flood or an accident or hospital bills. So we work towards getting a savings, and in some cultures, that's not a thing. That is actually quite interesting. So, next story is everybody's business. Oh dear. I'm white that married to a Mexican. The biggest thing for me was that everything is a family affair. Like, I call my family every other week or whatever, but my husband's family does everything together. My first taste of this was when we were dating, and it took the whole family to switch out his mattress for a bigger one. I was like, you couldn't do that yourself? He looked at me funny when I said that. Oh, but again, in Mexican culture, in Mexico, family is such a huge thing. It's such a huge importance in their lives. So when someone needs something, they all go, and they all take care of it, and they all step up, and they all help out. So I'm not too surprised by that story, but it's also like a mattress. But it is interesting. That's cool. Alright, so close. Dot dot dot. More ellipses, that's not a good sign, but let's get into it. The extreme family closeness. I'm black, but my family isn't particularly close. We live in different states. We talk probably weekly. I don't know the daily ins and outs of their lives. My wife's family, though, my gosh. Take a wild guess at their ethnicity. I'll give you a hint. 90% of her grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins live in the same 5-mile radius in El Paso. Oh dear. Yeah, people living very close together to their families and like just accepting it. That's a little weird, but it's a thing. I'm more like the other person, where we live in different states. We probably talk about weekly, maybe if that, and yeah, I'm more like that. Next story here. We're almost done, guys. Hang in there. Just say hello. Okay. So my wife had to deal with Korean people who will frequently comment about your appearance as a greeting. My aunt's meeting my significant other. Hi, nice to meet you. Your face is so small. Oh dear. I don't know how to react to that because I'm a bigger person, like weight-wise. So if I was like, hi, it's so nice to meet you. You're kind of big. I'd be like, what? How dare you? But then if it's something that they usually are used to doing, then you'd have to get used to that really, really quickly. Alright, TikTok is another story. Being late to social gatherings is so ingrained in their culture that showing up right on time is considered rude. Oh. She has literally made me pull into a parking lot and wait so that we were at least 10 minutes late to dinner at Tita's house. And we were still the first ones there by far. Oh. Being late is normalized. That's quite interesting. That would, like, remarkably change people's perceptions of time, I think, if that was a really acceptable thing. But oh my god, really? That's insane. See, for me, I'm always early. I would be always early to something, just to make sure I got there, and like, if it's a gathering at a restaurant, I'd be the first one to get there, make sure I got a big enough table for everyone, and I'd be like, I'm that person. So for me, I would be considered very rude in their culture. And second last story, here we go. It's all relative. Fair, I mean family, relatives, that's what I'm thinking this story might be about. So much family. She is Samoan. It feels like every Samoan seems to be related. Oof. Oof. I was watching a show and there's a Samoan guy on the show and he mentioned that he had like 8 siblings. So 9 kids in the family. I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy. I love big families though. I came from a family in which my grandma is a child of 9 siblings, and whenever we celebrate, I would literally be able to meet my nephew who's 25 years older than I am due to how many cousins we have. Whoa. Whoa. So, how does it feel to, like, meet so many family members, though? I've asked my cousin's wife about this, and she said it was pretty overwhelming at first. What about you? Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if you know that you're walking into a big family situation, it's like, that's so many people. Well, I moved to country and went to live with her family at one point. I was the only white guy around. Yeah, it was overwhelming, but I couldn't have been made more welcome. I have met and forgotten hundreds of relatives. Yes, I too have nephews that are a lot older than me and refer to me as uncle. Great people with warm smiles and hearts. That is so true though. Like, I think the larger families, yeah, of course, you're still gonna have tons of problems and you're gonna have tons of gossip, but you immediately feel like you're part of the family. I had that feeling when I was dating someone whose family's from the Philippines, and like, they are so loving and they really care about you, and it's just a remarkable feeling to be part of something like that, even if it's just for a brief time. Okay, and let's see, this is our last story, so hang in there. This is called I Do, so it's a story about weddings. So weddings, my fiance who's Irish and I who's Indian started planning our wedding. We both wanted to go for a small wedding, and we sat our parents down and told them about it. I gave my fiance a heads up to let him know that we'd have to operationally define what a small wedding would be to my parents, because to them, a small wedding would be like 100 people. He didn't take me seriously at first, but when we finally got down to it and told my parents, they came up with a guest list of just their friends and family of about 125 people. As a compromise, we finally arrived on 20 people for the wedding, and my parents were throwing us a party after with whoever they want to invite. It was like a war negotiation. But that's so true, though. I've heard about Indian weddings, like how many people can be invited to it and how many people, they love that kind of thing, and that's really crazy. To go from 125 people to 20 is insane. But you also have to think about, there's other options and compromises you can do, like gatherings afterwards, things like that. And I actually had friends that recently got married. One was from the States, one was from the UK. And so they did the wedding in the UK first, and then because of the distance between the families, they had a second wedding in America. So that's one kind of way you could compromise that too. So that's really cool. Okay, oh, sorry, there's like 2 more small stories. I just scrolled down a little bit further, so hang in tight. This one's called Cheers. Man, they can drink. Like, seriously, holy crap. Scandinavian, specifically Norwegian, Irish, and Swedish people, they can drink. Yo. Yes. You should have been. I was in Oslo for New Year's Eve this year. Oh my god, being at a bar for like 20 minutes was like almost too much for me. Just based on what was happening and who was drinking what, and people were even offering to buy me drinks. They're like, you haven't drank enough, and I'm like, I'm good. Craziness. Good times. Good people. Good times, but craziness. And last one. Can't go just anywhere is what the story is called. So, a black woman's hair is expensive and takes forever. Plus, you can't go to any old salon for it. That's true. And that's part of the problem with what's going on in all over the world right now. Is people are bringing attention to how black people, and like, for this example is perfect, how black women, they need different access to different things to really treat themselves and treat their bodies. And there's a lot of places everywhere that you go that don't do what they need done, so they have to go to very specific, like, black owned salons and things to get what they need. They can't just go anywhere, and that is part of the problem. It's part of the problem. Next here, even if I wanted to go to any salon, it sadly isn't super possible. Despite going to cosmetology school, many stylists still do not know how to work with hair types that aren't traditionally white. My town has mostly white salons and only less than 5 women available who can do black hair. It's absolutely been an expensive struggle, but the final look pays off when I can find a woman who can do the job. And that makes sense. If you can find someone who has worked with hair that is quite different than what has worked with hair that is similar to their own, you'll have a way better experience. And I feel so bad that the black women have to go through that. They have to go and search and pay just to have an experience that would make their hair look just as good as if a white person had their hair done. It's awful. But yeah, if you're not used to that, it's quite like, oh, really? So it's really sad. But that is where I'm ending it. The music ended at a really good time, so thank you guys for listening. Hope you felt a little relaxed hearing this. I know I got into some politically charged things, but that's my stance. We need to do better in this world. We just need to do better. People should not have to go and search for things just to feel wanted and to feel welcomed and to feel seen. Okay? I will end it there though, before I get yelled at. And if you yell at me, that's fine. That just means you do not deserve a place in my world. Okay? So, anyway, with that, I will end this here. I think I'm going to keep doing these reading ones just for a little while. I think next week will be a vlog where I kind of talk more about what's going on, how it impacts me, and try to word vomit that all out. Otherwise, I will see you guys in next week for the video. If you have any feedback, let me know. And yeah, take care. Be safe out there. And I love you guys. Bye.